The recital hall smelled faintly of polished wood and old velvet curtains. Parents sat pressed shoulder to shoulder, whispering about costumes and choreography, while little girls in sparkly leotards fidgeted nervously near the wings. My daughter, Lily, just 7, stood beside me, clutching her tutu with both hands, her brown eyes wide and shimmering under the harsh stage lights. "You'll be great," I whispered, brushing a stray curl off her forehead. She nodded, her lips trembling but trying to be brave. I bent down and kissed her cheek. "Just smile, baby. Dance because you love it." But before she could even step toward the stage, I heard my mother's voice, sharp, biting, the same tone I'd grown up with. "She looks ridiculous, just like you did every time you tried to be somebody. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video." I froze. She stood a few feet away, her arms crossed, her lips curled into that same smirk I knew too well. Dad leaned back in his seat behind her, muttering, "Waste of time, waste of money, just like her mother." I clenched my fists. "Don't start, Mom, not today." "Oh, please," she sneered. "This is entertainment. Watching trash try to look polished, that's comedy." She looked right at Lily. "Remember, sweetheart, you're only as good as the blood that made you. And your mother? She's worthless." Lily's eyes welled up and I felt my chest clench. "Ignore her," I whispered fiercely. "She doesn't matter." But deep down, I knew those words already cut. The recital began. Music filled the hall as group after group danced, parents clapping proudly. Finally, Lily's group was called. I held her hand, guiding her toward the stage entrance. She stepped onto the polished floor with 5 other girls, her pink slippers tapping nervously. She found her spot in the line, looked out into the audience, and God help me, she saw my mother in the front row, smirking like the devil herself. The music swelled. Lily lifted her arms, tried to follow the steps, twirling clumsily but smiling with everything she had. My heart swelled with pride. She wasn't the best dancer, but she was trying. She was shining in her own way. Then it happened. Midway through the performance, my mother stood abruptly and marched right to the edge of the stage. People turned their heads, whispering. Before I could process what was happening, she leaned forward, hissed, "Pathetic!" and with one swift motion shoved her hand hard against Lily's little legs. My baby tumbled sideways, her knees knocking into the stage boards, her small body collapsing with a dull thud that silenced the entire room. "Lily!" I screamed, rushing forward. Gasps filled the auditorium. The other girls froze mid-dance. Lily clutched her shin, whimpering in pain, her tutu crumpled. And then the sound I will never forget. My mother's laugh, cruel, sharp, echoing across the stunned crowd. "At least now," she said loudly, "she matches her mother's worthless life." The air shattered. Parents stood, some shouting. A teacher ran to help Lily while I threw myself onto the stage and cradled her in my arms. Her tiny fingers clutched my dress, her sobs muffled against my chest. I looked up at my mother, still standing there, smug and unflinching. Dad sat back, chuckling under his breath, while Vanessa, my perfect sister, snapped pictures with her phone, smirking like it was all some twisted show. Rage surged inside me, hot, trembling, dangerous rage. For years they'd called me trash, laughed at my pain, stolen my pride. Now they had hurt my daughter, my little girl who never did a thing to deserve their poison. I pressed my cheek to Lily's curls, whispering, "It's okay, baby. Mommy's here." But my eyes stayed locked on my mother, and in that moment, I swore they weren't walking away from this. Not this time. Not after laying their hands on my child. This wasn't going to end in silence. This was going to end with their lives in ruins. The night after the recital, I sat by Lily's bed, watching her sleep with her leg wrapped in a soft bandage. Every time she shifted in pain, my chest tightened. She had asked me once, before drifting off, "Mommy, did I do something wrong? Did Grandma hate my dance?" I had kissed her forehead and whispered, "You were perfect, baby. You didn't do anything wrong." But inside, I knew this wasn't just about Lily. It was about me. About the decades of venom my parents poured into me and were now spilling onto her. I couldn't let it continue, and I wasn't going to let them brush this under the rug. No, oh, it was a misunderstanding or she tripped excuses. Not this time. They wanted to embarrass me publicly? I would answer publicly. They wanted to laugh at my daughter? I would make sure that laugh never came again. The next morning, I got to work. I called the dance school. The recital had been recorded, every single minute of it. And yes, the camera had caught the exact moment my mother lunged forward and shoved Lily off the stage. I had them email me the footage immediately. I watched it twice. My hands trembled, not from sadness this time, but from a rising clarity. That clip wasn't just evidence, it was a weapon. Then I reached out to people who mattered to my parents. My mother was the respectable head of a church women's committee, bragging constantly about her family values. My father sat on the board of the local business association, pretending to be a man of integrity. They thrived on appearances. They lived for admiration. Without their shiny image, they had nothing. I drafted a message. I attached the clip. I sent it to every single person in their circle, committee members, business partners, neighbors who thought my parents were saints. I didn't add any commentary. I didn't need to. The footage spoke louder than any words could. Within hours, the calls started pouring in. My phone lit up with messages from neighbors, furious church members, even Lily's teachers who had watched it in disbelief. How could she do that to a child? This is sick. I'll never look at your parents the same again. By the afternoon, my mother was blowing up my phone. First denial. You edited that, Jessica. Then rage. You'll regret this. Finally, desperation. Please, people are calling nonstop. My reputation is ruined. I ignored every word. Meanwhile, Vanessa, the ever-perfect sister, decided to throw herself into the mess. She called me, sneering, "You've gone too far. You're ruining everything for the family." But I had something for her too. Along with the recital footage, I had compiled texts she'd sent mocking other kids from the neighborhood, bragging about how she was the star and everyone else was trash. I released those too. By the second day, the fallout was total. My mother was removed from her committee leadership. Dad's business partners demanded his resignation. Vanessa's perfect daughter image shattered among her friends. They weren't pillars of the community anymore. They were a scandal. But I wasn't done. I arranged a private viewing party at the dance school. I invited the parents, teachers, and other kids from Lily's class. I stood in front of them and played the clip on a projector. They watched, horrified, as my mother shoved a little girl mid-performance. They watched as she laughed, as she spat her venom into the air. When the lights came up, I didn't have to say a word. The room erupted. Parents demanded my family be banned from school events. Teachers said they'd file reports. One father stood and said, "If that was my kid, I'd have pressed charges already." I looked at Lily sitting in the front row with her leg still bandaged, and this time she wasn't crying. She was smiling faintly because for the first time she saw everyone standing up for her. For us. The power was shifting. My parents weren't laughing anymore. They were drowning in the weight of their own cruelty. And I wasn't finished. Not yet. The calls didn't stop for them. By the third day, their house was surrounded not by admirers, but by neighbors glaring with disgust. The same women who once brought my mother pies for her committee leadership now crossed the street when she stepped outside. My father's business partners withdrew every deal, every handshake. Their empire wasn't just cracking, it was collapsing. But I wanted more than whispers. I wanted them to feel the humiliation they had poured into me, and worst of all, into my daughter. The recital school invited me to speak at their parent meeting the following week. My mother, desperate to fix things, showed up uninvited, dragging my father along. She wore pearls, her hair sprayed stiff, pretending to be in control. Dad sat beside her with his jaw clenched, his eyes darting nervously at the families surrounding them. The head teacher cleared her throat. "Before we begin, Jessica has something to share." I stood, my phone in my hand, and without hesitation, pressed play. The footage lit up the projector. The moment my mother shoved Lily mid-dance, the gasp, the laugh, her words. At least now she matches her mother's worthless life. The room erupted. Mothers covered their mouths. Fathers swore under their breath. Kids whispered, pointing at her. I turned to face my parents. That's who you are. That's what you did. You want to talk about family reputation? Look around. This is your legacy now. My mother shot up shrieking. She provoked me. That child tripped on her own. No, Mom, I cut her off, my voice sharp as a blade. Everyone saw it. Everyone heard you. And now they'll never forget. A father from the audience stood. Your daughter should never set foot in this school again, and neither should you. The crowd agreed, loudly. My parents sat back down, their faces pale, their hands trembling. But I wasn't finished. I turned to the group, raised my voice, and revealed the rest. They didn't just humiliate my child, they drained every ounce of dignity from me since I was her age. Called me trash, made me their scapegoat, tried to crush me until I was silent. Well, I'm not silent anymore. And if anyone doubts it, I saved every message, every receipt, every word they've ever said. Gasps filled the room again. Vanessa tried to interrupt, but her texts mocking neighborhood kids appeared on the projector next. Her friends in the audience recoiled in disgust. She stormed out in tears, her image shattered. The meeting ended with a unanimous vote. My parents were banned from all school events, barred from committees, and their names stripped from every community bulletin. They didn't leave the room as leaders. They left as pariahs. Later that night, they came to my apartment, pounding on my door, demanding I take it all back. I opened the door just wide enough for them to see Lily standing behind me, clutching her stuffed bunny, her little bandaged leg peeking out from under her pajamas. I looked my mother dead in the eye. You shoved a child off a stage and laughed. You'll never touch her again. You'll never touch me again. And then I closed the door. The silence afterward was the sweetest sound I had ever heard. They wanted to break me. Instead, I broke the image they worshipped more than anything. They wanted Lily to feel worthless. Instead, she saw her mother fight back. That was the revenge. Loud, devastating, unforgettable. And for the first time, I felt it. True freedom. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video.